Hey, folks, how's it going? Hope you've had a tremendous week. We've got a few folks with us. We got Panay and a few others and so forth. Hop on in the chat and say hi. Always kind of fun. Hey, Eliza, how are you doing? Always kind of fun to do these on a Friday. On one hand, it's Friday and it's like, okay, let's get the week over with. On the other hand, it's kind of a good motivational way to end things well and kind of look into the weekend and think about what we can accomplish and so forth. So I like it. Hey, so let me tell you what we're going to be doing today. What we're going to be doing is talking about time management, just high level. As you know, I'd like to keep these live streams very short, 30 to 40 minutes. And I just want to share with you some key tips and tricks for time management. And these tips and tricks, well, I'll explain as we go forward, but they can go a long way. All right? So we're going to discuss, it's over here. It's over there, right there. We're going to discuss the basics of time management and some of the techniques available to you. Why do we do this? So, everybody says, time is a finite resource. Time is a finite resource. Everybody gets 24 hours. The rich get 24 hours, the poor get 24 hours. Now, truth of the matter is the rich can buy other people's time. Remember, if you don't know what your goal and your purpose and your vision is, then your time is for sale because you don't have we talked about that before. We'll talk about it again. I don't want to get distracted. I do that a lot. You get 24 hours. Now, you have a lot of other finite resources as well, to be clear, energy and money and cognitive resources and focus and things like that. But time is unique in that we can really easily measure it and parse it out. Sure, focus is a limited resource, but it's hard to measure and parse out. Cognitive resources, difficult to measure and parse out. Time, really easy. Time management enables you to maximize productivity, focus on meaningful work, and adapt to increasing demands of life. Guys, some of you know. Panay, right? Life doesn't get easier. Now, by the way, and Eliza, too, because you've been around the block, right? Maybe you can attest to what I'm about to say. Life doesn't get easier as you get older. Now, it kind of gets cooler. my feeling, how people say, oh, I wish I could go back to when I was a kid and so forth. Hell no. I really like where I am right now. But there's a lot of responsibilities. There's a lot of obligations. And, those of you with kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So the demands of life are ever changing. And the only way that you are going to keep from being blown about by the winds and waves of the storms of the demands of life is if you know how to navigate those things by managing your time. Okay, that is the survival mechanism. So that's why I talk about this in real world skills. Now, I want to say something here, and I really want to invite you to embrace this. Here's the problem with time management. The principles are simple. I mean, they're really simple. The things I'm going to talk about, you're going to be kind of like, yeah, I know, duh, hey, George. And that's a problem because we tend to underestimate and undervalue simple things. Gosh, there was a movie. What movie was it? Oh, I can't remember right now where he said the protagonist, I know. It was one of the Fantastic Beasts, the Harry Potter universe and so forth. It was one of the Fantastic Beast movies where the protagonist, Salamander or whatever his name was, hey Jenny, was talking about the bad guy, Goldafraid or whatever, and saying he's always underestimated or not really appreciated the simple things, right? Okay, point is, the principles I'm going to talk about seem simple. You are going to be sorely tempted to therefore undervalue them and just say it surely can't have much of an effect. This would be a mistake. These things are frickin' gold, okay? This is a superpower, time management. And what I'm about to give you are some real gems that can help you a great deal. Okay, so with that, let's go on. Now, I don't know about you, but I'll tell you something for me. When I'm not practicing time management, it's quite often where I can go through a whole day and I think, what did I accomplish today? What did I do? I mean, I feel like I was busy all day, but what did I really do? I wasn't even able to relax, right? So we want to learn how to plan out our day, all right? Now, one thing that I do and that I strongly recommend is the evening before the next day, take the time to plan out your day. Take a look at your calendar. Oh, Hecates, I'll tell you what, I'll pull up my calendar here so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So here's my calendar for today. All right, and right now, let's come on over here. Let's push this button. I'm doing the live stream right now. By the way, up here was my daily routine. I have a daily routine that I follow every morning. And then I need to publish Plan 9 from Outer Space video. I'm going to have a one-on-one with Penny. I'm meeting with a student. I'm having lunch. I'm working on the car. I'm meeting with the reading group. I'm, doing all that sort of stuff, okay? I know what I'm working on every day. I have time set aside for it every day, and I plan that out the night before. So when I wake up in the morning, I know what I'm working on. I know what needs to be done, and I'm never sitting around going, what should I work on? Next thing, don't plan too much. Okay, now you did see in my calendar there, I did have some overlapping things. They're not overlapping because I planned two things at the same time. I have a backup activity. So if one activity falls through, I have a backup activity. Otherwise, when an activity falls through, like a meeting or something, then I'm like, well, I don't have anything to do with 30 minutes because I was planning on this meeting. Point is, you really want to make sure that you plan a very accomplishable day. Don't overdo it. Don't plan out a productive day to beat all productive days. Plan out I'm just happy I got this done day. Then a few stretch tasks, a few little extras that if you feel like it, you can do them and so forth, and you can get those done as well. But really, I want to make sure that I have only about 3 main tasks for each day. Today is I'm doing the live streams. I need to finish a video, and then I'm meeting with the book club. Now, I also have a meeting with the student and so on and so forth, but those are half hours and so on. Point is, don't plan too much because you need some breaks and so forth, and you don't want to get overwhelmed. Next, productive beats busy. All right. Make sure that what you're working on lines up with your goals and objectives. Here's the thing. sometimes we get ourselves really, really busy because we want to avoid the work that we really have to do. I did this yesterday. I had a task I had to do yesterday, and I wanted to avoid it. I was avoiding it. And so I hid in some other work that was important, but that isn't what I had planned that day. So you want to make sure that what you're working on lines up with your goals. Now, many of you, many of you are in school. Your goals are around school. Many of you have family. Your goals are around family and so forth. So you want to make sure that the things you're working on line up with those objectives. Okay. Prioritize and sequence. Now, a few things on this. I told you when I was showing you my calendar, let's see here. Where was it? Here it was. And I'll go ahead and pull that up. You notice I have this morning routine right up here. Well, now, I want to be really clear. Yes, I get up at 4 a.m., but that's not a flex. I am most productive in the mornings from 4 a.m. to like 1, 2 p.m. I am, especially in the mornings, I am way productive. But not everybody is productive in the morning. Some people are way productive at night, okay? Now, society tends to glorify and deify morning people, right? The early bird gets the worm and so on and so forth. Early to bed, early to rise makes you healthy and wise, blah, 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 right? Okay. No, it happens to be the case for me, but it may not be the case for you. Take the time to kind of assess, when are you most awesome? When are you most on fire? And then plan your most important work around that time. Now, you have plenty of other work to do, but it doesn't have to be during your golden hour, right? Do the awesome work during your awesome productivity time. Now, as you do this, you want to make sure that each day you're prioritizing the work that is needed for the next day. So, let me give you an example. Let's say that you're working on an assignment, right? You want to make sure that don't just do the assignment all in one day. Well, actually, I'm going to hold off on this until we talk about the 10-minute rule. So hold on. We're going to revisit this on the 10-minute rule, okay? So that's going to bring me to my favorite techniques. 10-minute rule is the second one here, right? So here are some tips and tricks that you can use to really make time management an effective habit, okay? These are things that are going to seem super simple, but I promise they make a big difference. Okay, first one, 2-minute rule. The 2-minute rule is this. If a task pops up that would just take 2 minutes, do it now. Do it now. Don't put it off. Don't hold off till later. Just do it now. One and done. Get it off your plate. 2 minutes is hardly any time at all. But if you put it off and put it off and put it off, it accrues time. Right? You look at the email again, you reread it. Oh, I need to do that. You think about it, and then you leave it alone. And then later on, there's more 2-minute things. And eventually, you need to spend half a day just doing a whole bunch of 2-minute tasks. That's not efficient, right? So, for example, if you get an email from a professor saying, hey, by the way, on this assignment, you were missing this. Do me a favor, send me an email and let me know what that is, and I'll update your points. Do it now. That's a 2-minute task. Don't put off a 2-minute task. So 2-minute rule, that's what that is. Then you've got the 10-minute rule. All right, this is what I was alluding to earlier. There's many, many things that we need to do, but you don't want to do. All right, let's take, for example, a big end of semester assignment. And that thing's like 8 to 12 pages. It requires a ton of research. You don't quite know how to wrap your mind around it. And so you put it off until 3 days before the end of the semester. And you're like, holy heck, I need to write a 12-page paper with, 8 citations. That's overwhelming. But you didn't want to do it. I get it. The 10-minute rule is, listen, if there's something you don't want to do, just work on it for 10 minutes. That's it. Just open up the assignment, look at it, work on it for 10 minutes. Now, one of two things will happen, okay? First, once you kind of start, it's likely that you're going to go on for 15, 20, 25 minutes and you're going to get some real work done, okay? It's actually in the starting that's most difficult versus once you're going, right? It's kind of like a diesel engine. But then let's say, actually, no, I'm not going to do it for 15, 20, 25 minutes. You just do it for 10 minutes. Great, fine. You still made 10 minutes of progress. Now, if you make 10 minutes of progress or so 5 days a week, well, now the math's not exactly exact, but you've just put an hour into that assignment. And you do that for 12 weeks, you've put 12 hours into that assignment. And yet it never felt like an hour, let alone 12 hours. Because you just did 10 minutes a day. And anybody can do anything for 10 minutes. You can hold your breath for 10. You can't hold your breath for 10 minutes. I can't. Anyway, the point is, the 10-minute rule makes big, huge, intimidating tasks just kind of disappear. Because, you're working on them bit by bit. All right. Here's my next tip. Mise en place. I don't know if anybody here cooks. Anybody here cook? Mise en place is a French term and it's used in cooking. That's why I say do you cook, right? They even talk about it in the movie Ratatouille and so forth. Mise en place is French for put in place, set in place. Mise en place, set in place. And the idea is this. Before you cook a meal, you measure everything out and put everything into little bowls and so forth. All you're doing is preparing for cooking. You're not cooking yet. You're preparing. You're chopping the onions. You're measuring out the whatever spices and so forth. And you're getting everything all set up so that when it's time to cook, it's just this beautiful, elegant experience. You stand there, your elbows are in, and everything is in place. You just pour it in, and it's mwah. It's a wonderful experience because everything is set up and in place. My wife, she has a sewing station where everything is set up just so that she can just walk in and sew anything, make a repair or something like that, and not have to drudge everything out and dig through drawers and so on and so forth. I have the same thing when it comes to my workspace right here. Everything is mise en place. So, remember I said you want to plan out the evening before what you're going to work on the next day. When you do that, you might take a few minutes and mise en place. Get everything set for the next day's activity. And it really reduces the friction between you doing what you need to do and doing it, right? So, for example, today I have to go down and work on the car because it is January 31st and I made a commitment to myself that I was going to get a certain thing done by the end of the month. Well, this is the end of the month. Okay, here's the problem though. The garage is kind of a mess. And so I'm going to have to go down and clean some things and move some things and so forth before I can even do the job that I need to do. Had I practiced mise en place yesterday, this is the thing I put off. Had I practiced mise en place, then I could just go straight down, do what I need to do, and in 10 minutes be done. But instead, it's going to be a 20, 30, 40-minute activity. So kind of consider that when you're planning what you're going to do next. Okay, next one. Tool organization. This is closely related to mise en place, okay? These are two terms here. They're not my terms. These are terms from a guy named Adam Savage. He was one of the Mythbusters. If you remember back in Mythbuster lore on the Discovery Channel, he has a YouTube channel now that I follow religiously and so forth. He is a maker. He is a maker. And so, of course, he's always working with tools. Well, I don't care what we're doing. We're all working with tools, whether I'm in the garage working on the car, or if I'm making videos, or if my wife is working on sewing or crochet or cross stitch or watercolor, whatever she's doing. Whether you're studying, you're always working with tools. So when it comes to tool organization, here are two rules to follow. One is first order of retrievability. You want to set up your workspace so that you do not need to move anything to get to the tool you need. Okay? So the idea is everything is just grabbable. Even if it's up here on the wall, you just grab it. It's just right there. You don't need to move things out of the way to get to what you need, because having things in the way, this creates friction and sludge and will pull you out of flow state. Which brings me to the second rule that Adam Savage has, which is lowest possible threshold to flow state. Now, flow state is this amazing, beautiful state that we can enter in when we're doing something. You know the feeling. It's when time just evaporates. You're in the zone, you're feeling good, the work is happening almost automatically, and you look at the clock and you're like, oh my gosh, where did the time go? You know the feeling. That's flow state. And so you want to set up your workspace so that there is the lowest possible threshold, the least amount of friction between you and flow. This includes first order of retrievability, mise en place, systems, and so on and so forth. Okay? So that's how I've got my space set up in here. That's how I'm trying to get it set up in the garage. I am not yet successful, but we're working on it. So something to consider. Okay. You really want to limit your distractions. Now, again, I want to say, guys, you're listening to this and going, I've heard this 1,000 times. There's a reason you've heard it 1,000 times. It's true and it works. The question is, why aren't we doing it yet? You know, it's, again, these principles seem so stupidly obvious that we undervalue them. But I'm telling you, the challenge is not the step. The challenge is doing it. So schedule the right time for you to work when you are most effective. We talked about that. Set up a good workspace. By the way, on the workspace one, something I've discovered recently, and this is not on the slide, but I just want to share it with you. I find that I'm just now learning this, so I have not fully embraced it just yet. But I find that if I'm working all day, it's helpful if I do a change of venue every couple hours. So a couple hours in the studio, a couple hours in my office, a couple hours at my, relaxing chair with my laptop, a couple hours somewhere else. The change of venue kind of refreshes me a little bit. Now, Eliza, you're absolutely right. What if you have a toddler who doesn't have boundaries? Ain't that the truth, right? Ain't that the truth? And furthermore, I have kids. I get it. And I could be cavalier and say, oh, well, when your kid goes down and takes a nap, that's the time to get work. No, when the kid takes a nap, that's when you need to crash and recharge. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. This is an insane challenge. I totally get it. Hey, Christy! Oh my gosh, Christy, great to see you again. My office this semester is a mess, and I am much less productive than last semester, when everything's organized. Yeah, I'm a strong believer, guys, that the space reflects the mind and the mind reflects the space. So if your space is a mess, your mind is a mess. Now, I want to be clear. I know some really smart, productive people that this does not apply to. Their space is an unholy mess. So I'm not saying that this is an unequivocal law of nature of the universe, but I find that to be the case for myself. And a new Frenchie, my gosh, right? Okay, so good works best set clear boundaries with others. The kid doesn't have boundaries. I get it. Hey, you know what? Put the phone away. Now, in my case, you just saw it was there. It's upside down. So I have to use it for this and so on and so forth. When I'm not using it, I put it upside down if I have to have it near me. If you can, put it in the other room. Now, again, if you can, kids might need to contact you, so on and so forth. But all too often, we just get in the habit of doing this when we have a bored moment. You don't want to do that. Put it upside down. And I've even, at times, on the back of it, put a Post-it note that said no on it. So that if I look over at the phone, I'm reminded with that Post-it note, no. So just a thought there. Let's see. Oh, Samantha. Hey, I'm a big fan of the cathedral effect. I don't know that one. My creative juices get flowing and I can lock in when I'm in big open space. That's even better than small confined spaces. How interesting. That's the cathedral effect. I'm going to have to try that. Now, my studio here is very small. My office is small. Now, downstairs, when I'm sitting in my chair with the laptop, that's the living room. That's the family room. It's larger. I'm going to try the cathedral effect. So, Samantha, thank you. Note to myself to try that. Very nice. Okay, put the phone away. Be in the moment. Invite flow. Hey, by the way, this takes training. This takes mental training. Being in the moment, focusing on what you're doing right now, enjoying the process of learning and creating and exploring and discovering instead of getting distracted by things. I'm not saying it's easy. I just said it takes training, takes time. Okay. Pomodoro technique. A little bit more about this to come because I'm going to try to say, hey, join me. The Pomodoro technique says work for 25 minutes and then take 5-minute break. 25 minutes, 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 5-minute break. I have mixed feelings about the Pomodoro technique. Now, I want to be clear. It's really popular and effective, but different people work in different ways. For me, when I get into flow, when I get into doing something, I don't want to stop. I want to lose track of the clock. And that 5-minute timer saying, hey, take a 5-minute break, sometimes that pulls me out and so forth. However, I have noticed that maybe not 25 minutes, but maybe 40 minutes, 45 minutes, I need to take breaks. Otherwise, I get sore, I get confined and so forth. My head just gets fuzzy. Even though I'm in flow, my head gets messed up. So I need to build in breaks. So whether it's 25 minutes or 35 or 45, build in quick little breaks. Okay? So, oh, good. I told you we shoot for 30 to 40 minutes. Now, next week, these are all time management techniques. Do not underestimate these. They are effective. But they alone will not motivate you to use them and to get the work done and so forth. So next week, we're going to talk about self-motivation and overcoming procrastination. I promise we can really help you out in that regard. Yeah. I agree, Liza. I want to try that technique. So here's my call to action. If you have not done so already, go back and watch the Thrive in 25 live stream that I did at the end of 2024. It was like at the middle of December or so. It's in the I think I had a picture of it. I'll have to, maybe I'll put a link to it in the description below. But you want to watch the Thrive in 25 workshop to help set your goals. Or if you already have goals, you're set. Set your objective. And then remember, on Tuesday nights, I do a work shift. It's a Pomodoro work shift. It's nothing fancy at all. Nothing fancy. Yeah, I know, Christy, you were there at Thrive in 25. The work shift is just me working. That's all I'm doing. I'm just sitting there working, but it's in 25-minute pieces with a 5-minute break, and I do it for an hour and a half. And of course, I'm in the chat and so forth, so we can talk about what you're working on. I share what I'm working on. You can see what I'm working on my screens and so forth. So if you need an accountability work buddy when you're working, that's a great option for you. All right? So there you go. That's everything. And as always, a big thank you to my supporters. Christy, we got you here with us today. I just really appreciate you guys playing along. Tuesday nights again. Tuesday nights at 6:30 to 8 o'clock. Tuesday night, 6:30 to 8 o'clock. Over in my Nutshell Compound YouTube channel. So it's YouTube/@Nutshell Compound. That's where those live streams are. The way I work it is Nutshell Brainery, where you are now. This is where I produce stuff. The compound is where I actually get the work done, and I like to invite others to join in. Okay? So yeah, thank you very much for your support, and thank you for joining today. Use these techniques, people. Don't underestimate the value. They work. All right? I'll stick around if you have any questions or comments, but otherwise, go off and have a fantabulous weekend, and we'll see you again next week. Go off and make some trouble, and we'll talk again soon. Yeah, Christy, I'd love to have you over at the work shift. I like doing it. It's actually turned out to be really good. We're getting a lot of people joining these days. Thank you, Eliza. We'll see you later. Good luck with those little toddlers. Oh my gosh. We'll see you Tuesday, Christy. I remember those toddler days. Holy cow. All right, well, I see folks dropping off and so forth, and I don't see any more comments. So I'm going to go ahead and drop off, and we'll see you guys later. Have a good one.